The first talk of the plenary session is on the topic Challenges in Adopting MBSE for Automotive Industry, which is being delivered by Mr. Rokas. Mr. Rokas is Chief Solution Architect for Software Engineering, Model-Based Systems Engineering, with more than 10 years of experience in software development. He has been with No Magic Europe since 2010. Rokas is currently focusing on establishing MBSE culture and deploying MBSE solutions for the existing and potential clients. He has run training and consultancy sessions with companies such as Audi, BMW, Drapers, Nokia Networks, Renault Nissan, Nokia Microsoft, Amadeus, Deutsche Post, Siemens, REWE and ZF, etc. Before joining No Magic, Rokas worked as a software engineer, system analyst, and project manager, where he actively contributed to process improvement activities and acted as a modeling evangelist. Rokas holds Masters in Computer Science and is OMG Certified UML, System ML Professional, and OMG Certified Expert in BPM. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Rokas for the first plenary session talk.
Thanks for introduction and thanks for opportunity to share our experience in adopting MBSE. And actually, I got a challenge from organizers that I need to reduce the time of my presentation. So this is a challenge for me, but can they, just in parallel, I start thinking, can MBSE reduce the time to market? So the testimonial says that, yes, so it can reduce. But of course, when you deploy and when you develop the MBSE solution, so you got the challenges. So in this presentation, I will share with you MBSE adoption challenges, which we collected from the automotive clients. And automotive clients from US, from Europe, Germany, France. And I was trying to collect these challenges so together with my colleagues and to summarize that in a presentation. And actually, there was a, is it working or not? Yes. So Gary, just in previous presentation, did very good introduction where I don't need to focus on explaining the complexity, growing complexity in the technological area, and especially when we talk about the not all technologies are working. Is it possible to highlight or not? Okay, so it's not highlighting. Good. So when we talk about the automotive technologies and where complexity is growing, so actually it is, we take a mobility solutions, we take a connected cars, autonomous vehicles, and what we are getting where? So we are getting more and more parts, and especially in the software. So the hardware becomes as the box for the different softwares. And if we take example which was presented this year in MBSE Cyber Experience Symposium, so in the US, we have a fourth presentation where we stated that comparing the lines of code, so for the Boeing Dreamliner, you see in the 2010, so it was 6.7 million lines of code. And if you take the current autonomous vehicles, so there is more than 100 million lines of code. So it's just increasing tremendously. And here we have a real challenge where model-based systems engineering can meet that challenges and probably solve that as well. Taking some surveys examples, so we found in MIT, so which has a course also on systems engineering, around 1,000 participants, so depending in which course we are participating, but from the different companies in US. They stated that currently, so the MBSE is a really successful matcher, so to warrant the actions today, and you see that there is a 63%, yeah? But when the question was about the, are you using in your organization MBSE approach? So we see only 29% of that. So which means that there is still area to improve and there is still area to work on. But actually, to take that journey, I was trying to make the parallel with climbing to the mountains. So maybe we have someone in audience which reached the summit of Everest. Okay, so but someone was climbing still. And you know that there are a lot of different challenges when you climb to the mountain. You cannot do that in one day. Yeah, so if you do that in one day, probably you are done already with your life. So which means that you need to stop at the specific campuses. You need to adapt. Sometimes you need to go down even, yeah? To go down to check, maybe there are bad weather conditions, etc. So this is what I was trying to do in parallel to address the MBSE adoption trip and to address the challenges in a different phases. So we have a definition phase, development, and deployment phase. In the definition, we start defining our scope, motivation, toolings. Then we started developing the MBSE solution. And after that, so we have a deployment where, of course, the big challenge to deploy entire organization. And based on that, so as you can see, to climb to the mountain Everest, so we have also a lot of different paths. The same is with MBSE adoption. So you can choose, also different paths based on your legacy or based on your specific challenges which you are targeting. So I have taken two paths which I want to describe for you as well. The path A and B, so it's just simply noted, and what we have here. So in a definition phase, there's actually the paths taken from our clients, from Automotive, yeah? So how do they face MBSE adoption? And as you can see, so we started from the systems engineering training, giving the training for a different roles, including the managers, which is a very important part. Then describing the MBSE process, the modeling method, which we want to have, and officially selecting the tool. So which means officially giving requests for the tool vendors, etc. Then in the development phase, so we start working on MBSE solution, start doing the proof of concepts with the selected business teams in order to get quicker the feedback, and of course, so defining the modeling infrastructure. And in the deployment, so we go even with intermediate solutions, which means that it is still not reached the final target, but they want to start faster and get quicker feedback from the teams also in order to improve. And of course, doing all the trainings and making the support for the business teams. The other path, which was chosen, starting with some kind of a conference. I know that there was about a bit less than here, but around 100 participants in the conference. So collecting the leaders in model-based systems engineering, so from the different companies, and also collecting the main guys responsible for adopting the MBSE, and of course the management. After that, doing the proof of concept with the selected MBSE team, and doing the tool selection. In a development, developing the MBSE modeling method, which means with adopting the previous one, combining, creating the new one, developing the initial solution, and of course the modeling infrastructure. And the path here was chosen in deployment phase, that they did the pilot project only with selected teams, which means that it was isolated from others, even the others we wanted to start, let's say other departments. And of course, doing the SysML, so the systems modeling language trainings, the tooling trainings, and of course supporting the users. So what kind of challenges we got? And before going to that for a different phase, just a reminder, so for the model-based systems engineering adoption, the main components. So we have a process defining what we'll create. So we define the modeling method, so how we will create modeling tools, with which tools will support the modeling method. Of course, choosing the modeling language, which is nowadays I would say the main modeling language is a SysML, so systems modeling language. for MBSE, and of course thinking about the integration with the other engineering tools. So going to the definition phase, what we get here. In a definition phase, so we start from motivation. So we need to motivate also in order to get the budgets. Yeah, so we need to know so what we want to achieve, and of course what kind of benefits we can get from the MBSE. And actually, in that definition phase is the key success factor. So to involve the management not only in making decisions. Okay, we go with MBSE, or as we discussed with one tractors and combines manufacturer class engineering director. So he was saying that, okay, sometimes I tell to management that because we don't understand MBSE, so we do the digital transformation. So, and when these keywords are taken into account and saying, okay, so we go with that. But what is very important that these managers, so who are making the decisions also, they have clearly understanding about the benefits, clearly understanding about the model-based systems engineering. And of course, when I was asking one of the automaker about the messages also given to the management, he was saying that, I told just to managers that, we can really be too late if we don't start now. Because others in the market, so we are moving that direction. And when we face the complex systems, so we cannot go the other way. And in the definition phase, so what is very important, so to have an initial budget where you can do the trainings for management, for the team, your team, which will be deploying the MBSE, working on MBSE solution. And of course, the budget, initial budget to analyze the tool selection project. So why I was taking this as example, for example, the Boeing was presenting, I think in 2017, in one of the INCOSE international workshops, the study that they did with around 10 people, so the half a year tool selection project. So can you imagine, so itself for tool selection project, MBSE tool selection project, it took 6 months. And actually, we shouldn't think just on the model-based systems engineering, and Gary so was taking the focus on the different topics actually in the systems engineering and in the future of systems engineering. And here is as well, so we should think some years ahead, and it doesn't mean that you need to do that today, but you should think ahead because after, let's say, 1 year or after 2 years, so you are ready to go with the integrations with other processes, with other initiatives in your organization. And if you didn't think before and you didn't align with this initiative, so it could be so that you still need to review your projects, yeah? And choosing the MBSE adoption approach, also quite important. So are you choosing off-cycle or on-cycle? So which means that directly using in the projects. So defining the scope, what is the scope of your project? It really depends in your organization. So are you going to talk only about the requirements and functional systems architecture? Are you including the software architecture? Do you want to integrate with the product line engineering, which is in automotive the key and big dilemma? Are you including the analysis and simulation, collaboration platform, safety topics, and others, yeah? So before going to deploy the MBSE, so you need to have a very strong team which supports all the different activities around the MBSE. And it's not only about the tooling, but it's also about the knowledge sharing. It's also about the giving motivation for the other colleagues. It's about the change. So which means that we need to lead. We need to lead, and I like the term of the BAE Systems presented last year in our conference. He called that MBSE SEAL team. So the SEALs, SEAL in US Navy, what does it mean? So it means very strong team, strong organized team, and we don't care about the challenges, so we just take the challenges, yeah. What is very important that communication between the business part, so the processes, tooling responsibilities, and IT also. IT is another challenge where they have sometimes the lack of knowledge, unless they are engineering IT, so which are focusing on engineering tools, but this is important to mention. And of course, in a bigger organization, so you use the other companies also to get support for the activities. What we had in different approaches from the clients for the tool selection. The first one was the direct tool vendor involvement, so the big list of RFI, then RFQ came to 2 tool vendors, a lot of workshops, where we trying to understand if that solutions can challenge their needs. Then another one was like a formal, using just external consulting, which means that we don't include the tool vendors, and informal, like the client is working already with some tooling, and just we need to get the confirmation from management. So the takeaways from the definition phase is that you really should plan your development and deployment of the MBSE and clearly communicate to the different stakeholders that there will be the clear message, so what MBSE is bringing, because what we see from our experience also that these changes which are coming, so sometimes we are really resisted by the different teams. And sometimes I call for a joke that there is a Game of Thrones between, between the different engineering teams or different management also. And probably the key factor, so at the very beginning is the MBSE team, strong MBSE team. Myself, I had the experience where I'm one of the oldest already guy working with a client, because on the client side there were a lot of changes, And every time, so we get another challenge, so not deploying MBSE, but understanding what others did. And of course, sponsoring from management. Okay, so let's go to the next phase, where we have a development, and what we do in the development. So in the development, we start climbing to MBSE Summit. And what kind of stops we have? So we choose how we develop our solution. Is it with a tool vendor together? There are some benefits also, like making changes in the roadmaps, where you need additional functionality, etc. Or working with the internal or external consultants. Then you define the modeling method. You focus on the Metamodel of your MBSE project. Then you define and create the MBSE resource, infrastructure. And in another steps, so you start already with a proof of concept. The proof of concept where you can check at the beginning with selected teams, is that solution, so is that modeling method already working in your organization? So the part of that, of course. You collect the feedback. Maybe you should come back to the previous campus to make another iteration, and then climb again. So then you go with the minimum viable product development, again, the proof of concepts, and trying to reach the target MBSE solution. So which means that you have already reached the mountain, MBSE mountain, so you are happy with that. The team did that. But what happens next? So there is a big deployment part. So what kind of challenges we have in the development phase? You need to choose the modeling method. So the modeling methods, like proposed by Incosi, OSM, for example, or others, Harmony, etc., they are already here. But the question is, do they fit for your company? Do they fit for your specific needs? And what we see here is that everyone is saying, yeah, we do similar, but still we have some specifics. And what does it start? It starts then with the defining your modeling method. The next one is a Metamodel, and here is the key point. So is the Metamodel which defines your main concepts of your engineering area. Are you using the engineering feature as the element? How does engineering feature, how how does connect, let's say, which functions are realizing engineering feature? Do you have a system, subsystems, etc.? How they are interconnected with each other? So you define that in a Metamodel. And what we see from the experience also that clients who are defining the Metamodel, so they do get easier into developing the solution because they have a traceability and we have a quicker way for implementation as well. So the main question, is it SysML enough? So the systems modeling language. Sorry, just I didn't ask, how many of you knows the SysML, systems modeling language? Okay, so it's a bigger part, and it's good. And is it SysML enough, you know, to, for your MBSE solution, or do you need additional profile, additional extension? What does it mean? That means that do your engineers understand what does it mean, the block, or do we need to create as elements the feature or function or system or component, etc. So, which means that do we need to speak the engineering language or do we need to speak the systems modeling language? And here is what we see that the bigger part of the clients, they do want to speak the engineering language. What does it mean for us or for others who are developing the MBSE solution, which means that you need to extend the SysML by creating the specific profiles. As you can see here in example, so we have a stereotype like feature, which represents some kind of a services provided by the car. And here is example, so like a Bluetooth connection. And it needs to have also some additional metadata, additional properties, which are not coming with SysML. This is the point why we want to bring more specific information into the SysML models. Okay, so choosing the tooling, I just put some other also the competitors which are as well in the market, and the clients are using them, so like a Rhapsody or Enterprise Architect. But from our point of view, so what we usually see is that our clients, they are using like Magic Draw or Cameo Systems Modeler for defining the architecture. And of course, we do create the MBSE resources. So what does it mean, the MBSE resource? Which means that the platform where you can get the specified method implementation, where you can the specific functionality, additional functionality, which helps engineers to create the models. Let's say, to make them easier to do their job. And what happens here? As example, so we have an MBSE resource, which has a specific perspective, which means that sometimes we talk with clients, they're saying, oh, the tools are like for geeks, you know, there are a lot of menus, etc. But there are possibilities also to customize everything, yeah, so to hide the information which you don't need. And then you create a specific perspectives for the MBSE engineers. Then you have a project templates. The users don't start from the scratch. They have already the template which is agreed in a company-wide, which means that it doesn't matter, are you in a multimedia project, are you in a connectivity project, you open that project, you understand the structure. This is the key point also, like when you are switching, you know, domains. Then you have your custom diagrams, which means that you're not creating some diagram using the SysML elements, you're creating the diagram which is dedicated for your modeling method. Like you say, I want to have a system of interest, specific how it communicates with other systems. And this is what you get out of the box, which means that engineer doesn't need to care about the language specifics as well. Then additional functionalities like a validating model, which is very important. So we have a client which is wants to be sure that the solution and the models are really correct and valid. For example, before the generating documentation, so they do the model validation, which means that they ensure that the model created by 20 engineers is correct based on following their rules, so the company-wide rules. And of course, this is still the key factor or one of the key success factors as well in MBSE solutions. Still, what we see that the people, they need the documents. So you generate the documentation from a model. But there is a key that you have in the model, you have all the true, you have a current situation, you can go back to the previous versions, to previous baselines, etc., and you can anytime access the documentation. You can just generate that, yeah? But the real true, so the main source is in the model. Okay, then the customers also challenging, especially in automotive, so what if I can run, what if I can execute my model? So even before, before all the specific analytics, specific simulations with specific simulation tools, you can execute your model, ensure that the business logic which you defined is correct. And of course, then connecting with the cost simulation tools with FMI, like a functional mockup interfaces, so with FMU files, you are able to orchestrate the cost simulation as well in the tool, so which brings already a lot of advantages here. The model itself is not only the picture, couple boxes connected, but it is live, so you can run, you can execute that. One very important thing is, especially what I saw in automotive, but of course in other domains as well, the system breakdown structure. And this part actually, the system breakdown structure was presented by Audi last week. I was in COSI EME workshop in Utrecht, in Netherlands. And Audi was challenging inside the Volkswagen group, so to choose the system breakdown structure, the way how they organize the systems, yeah? And they have chosen two different approaches. So one is like a product structure, so based on the, let's say, legacy. And another one is a functioning cluster. So the function cluster based on the main functions, which means we are cross systems already. And they were trying to, to do the SWOT analysis, of course, etc. So different kind of things. And what they have seen, so one is very, very important things that, when you define your system breakdown structure, it could really strong influence your organizational or project structure. What does it mean? So that means changes, yeah? Like with one client, we have 43 main systems. So like taking powertrain, multimedia, connectivity, etc. Yeah. So and just imagine that. Okay, so we want to switch. We want to move to 25 because we're based on the main functions. What does it mean for organization? Can we work in the previous way how we did, or should we reorganize? So there will be another managers. There will be another Game of Thrones. So that's a point which is really impacting a lot. Organization itself. And of course, when we talk about the models, the model organization is also the key factor. And here you have the challenges to define how you will organize your model. So will you define your entire vehicle and entire structure in one project? Are you having the libraries where you can reuse the information? For example, so one automotive client from Germany, so we have 25,000 signals. So can I share that signals and can I use in, entirely in all the projects in order to enable the traceability, in order to be sure that if I'm planning to change specific signals or specific interfaces, yeah, so how big the impact will be on my entire systems. And of course, the safety first, so the topic about the safety is very important, and this is where one of our clients, Ford, is working, let's say, ahead, and they are contributing to the OMG group, as well as our colleagues, to define the OMG safety and reliability profile, which also targets to ISO 26262 standard for the road vehicles for functionality, functional safety. The topic about the diversity or product line engineering is really, as one client said, the big dilemma, because we have in a automotive, so we have a lot of different variations, different configurations. And how does it impact your models? So how do you define your behavior, your structure, based on the specific variants? This is the topic to be targeted in the earlier versions when I would say not after deploying MBSE solution. This is where you need to target already at the development phase. And of course, the idea itself, so that when you define your system model, where you connect with the requirements, you need also to connect with other disciplines, yeah? Either it is the mechanical models, electrical, electronic, and of course, a lot of software models. And here you need the collaboration platform. Here you need to connect your system model elements, to connect the system model behavior with the specific implementations already. So which means that you need somehow federate the disciplines, yeah? And one of the parts, as a part of Dassault system, we have a 3D experience platform where you can connect all the different disciplines. From other vendors, there are also platforms available. And of course, what is very important when you're connecting all the disciplines, the standards which you are following, yeah? Okay, so some takeaways from the development phase. There we talk about the MBSE solution. What we have faced that the team itself, so who is deploying the MBSE, who is developing the MBSE solution on the client side, they should get really good knowledge on the SysML, on the customizations, and of course on their domain and systems engineering. Sometimes we face the challenges where you need to, when you need to discuss about the questions, which probably shouldn't be targeted if they have a specific knowledge on that. So this is what I said in the definition phase at the very beginning, that you need to have this information or this knowledge to get with the trainings, yeah? And the business teams, either it is multimedia or what we see is from ADAS, Advanced Driver Assistance Systems, or from autonomous driving. So a lot of teams are really very motivated because we understand the complexity and we want to participate in the proof of concepts. And system breakdown structure, model organization topics, they cannot be solved just in one iteration. This is for sure, this is true. And sometimes you will need, half a year, 1 year, maybe 2 years also to understand if this breakdown structure, this model organization is working correctly. Safety, product line engineering, they should be considered also the model-based, where you can connect with the system models and you don't get, some silos somewhere where because the safety engineers were working with the Excel or with other tools which are not connected, with your system model, with your system functions. And of course, the collaboration platform. And as automotive makers, so we have hundreds of suppliers. The collaborative platform can help you in the work. And of course, taking back my parallel with climbing to the mountain, so you shouldn't be surprised about the avalanches. They are coming. We have faced as well. You need to prepare for them, or you need to work on that. So this is the real life. Okay, so let's go to deployment. We reached the MBSE summit. We are happy. We know how to climb again, which means that we are some kind of a Sherpa. Just recently, I think in the May, one Sherpa, he reached the 24th time the Everest mountain. So it was this year, which means so such Sherpa, he has very good knowledge on when to stop, on organizing the team, seeing what kind of challenges we are getting. So here, what we need to have. So of course, we reach the summit. We spread the message of the MBSE solution, which is another challenge because we need to show the success. We need to engage other people, so other teams who were still, thinking if it's a good solution or not. or will it work? We need to train the teams to work with that solution. Of course, it is not the easy way just in one iteration, so there will be support, etc. And you need to help migrate data, which is very, very important. And again, supporting, keeping quality, you need to get that from the MBSE team. So for keeping the quality, the support is very essential. Some of them we have a dedicated support team for MBSE solution, for the modeling. Of course, all the deployment governance, making reviews, monitoring the model status, etc., and ensuring the quality. And here we had some games also. Some companies, we did the KPIs and game models, so that's the model of the month, let's say. So which model is the best of the systems? Which system is best described better than other systems? So in some cases, it works. And here I want to share the experience from the clients, so the Renault, Group Renault, so which is working on MBSE solution. And just we gave some questions to them. This is homemade video, so it's not, it's with a smartphone just, yeah.
You can deploy SysML without customization only for small and medium complexity projects, but it is impossible to deploy it without customization for complex projects or very complex, because SysML is a very young standard. At high level, it is very good structured, inheriting UML structure and logic, reason that convicted us to choose it. But at low level, here are a lot of things that are still missing or that must be improved. You could need both SysML customization and extension development.
Here in Renault, we have like 43 systems, and I do not know how many subsystems. So it can be very difficult if we do not have like same language. So a block for one project will be engineering feature or a function or something else. And if you go to another project, maybe it will mean something else. So having a profile or doing customization will help to connect models from systems, for different systems.
The MBSE Metamodel is a key point for MBSE specifications. It creates a shared and very structured reference for all the design and development, but also for the interactions with key users. Our key users are the most experienced system engineers, familiar with different architecture frameworks. The Metamodel is the adapted language for communication with them. The value of the Metamodel is to increase the consistency of MBSE architecture and design at all the levels and to ensure shared communication language. Yes, no magic should participate at least in the development of the MBSE solution. As we said, here is still a gap between big companies' specific system engineering needs and what SysML offers in the standard today. In order to fit this gap, you need to converge between your process-specific needs and the product capabilities. And in order to answer to challenge to go to the maximum of product capabilities, the actor with the best skill and competencies is no magic.
First of all, for this intermediate solution, which is included is like people they have a possibility to do the operation, function, and physical layer only by system or subsystem, but and to generate some documentation. Yes, that's perfect, but what really is needed is like to have also to integrate aspect, cross-system aspect to inter-system aspect, variability, to have like a validation rule. I think for me everything is really necessary, or everything is really needed.
First, to have an MBSE tool strongly aligned with system engineering process. This is the main prerequisite in order to start deployment of MBSE. The second challenge is to associate key user early in the project, even from design phase, by participation to proof of concepts. The key users will facilitate the deployment of a solution for that they have participated to design. And the third challenge is a robust training and support.
First of all, we began with proof of concept, and then we get a lot of feedback from end user, and we updated all our profile accordingly. And then for the intermediate solution, we have like two kind of training. 2 days training for people who do modelization, and one day training for people who do review, just consultation of the model. I think we have like some kind of open MBSE, like they can come, they can ask a question, and we have also like a hotline for which is available. People, they can ask a question by Skype or ask some meeting if they need. First of all, people they import using DataHub. They import stakeholder need from doors to their Magic Draw project, and then they can design or they can answer to stakeholder need in Magic Draw during the operation analysis, then function analysis, and physical analysis, doing the traceability between each layer from operation to function to physical. And when everything is done, they have the possibility to generate documentation, official documentation about design, and also documentation for components. Then we export requirements to doors again, in order, because doors still the reference for our requirement.
Our main constraint and obstacle is that the ecosystem of MBSE is young, and it's not a lot of maturity on the market of MBSE services at different levels. We have to use, for instance, mainly internal resources. The challenge is that in the next year, the market of MBSE services will evolve, and that will find easier external resources. We have a different situation, few resistance, strong demand to deploy, and the reason is that we are process-oriented, more exactly flexible process and lean management oriented. Everyone will have the just needed for his context.
So as you can see, just very short summarizing. So the client was also pointing the points like cross systems, variability, so which are very important. And as you can see, so there are the different kind of challenges. So one company doesn't have a challenge or big resistance from the teams, from the business, but they have a challenge to support MBSE. We have a challenge to get the people which can be in this MBSE teams, so which can have the knowledge. And just the finalizing message that you should really be sure and make everyone is clear with the challenges which you are facing when you adopt the MBSE. Communicate clearly the benefits of your solution which you are bringing to the company. And of course, the time and investment, so because sometimes management thinks, okay, we do that in 1 year, it never happens. But the time and investment is in short also to reach the MBSE summit. So thank you for this, and I wish for you to have also MBSE challenges and to go in MBSE path.
Thank you, Mr. Rokas. Starting from choosing the right path for MBSE implementation to scope definition and culminating on implementation definitely turned out to be a comprehensive methodology for MBSE implementation. Thank you. Thank you once again. We request Mr. N.P. Giri, PD PSLV, to please present a memento to Mr. Rokas as a token of appreciation. We request Mr. Rokas to please join on the stage and receive the memento.
Excuse me, I'm first time in India, so I don't know this culture.